Welcome back friends to another RiftGuides WildRift video, and for today I'm going to present you the best SoloQ champions there are. The obligatory mention here is Katarina, but we will not cover Katarina today, but Katarina will always be a great SoloQ champion because this champion just loves running around the map and collecting kills, and people don't pay attention, everyone dies. That's it, that's Katarina, but now we go over to a question of the day: Dragon or Herald? In a SoloQ environment, getting Herald usually means accelerating the game. Accelerating the game then means snowballing to then winning the game super fast. Dragon on the other hand means coin flipping a fight with more or less than 5 against 5 people, which is terrible. In addition to this, you also have to factor in the fact that you only get stats. And those stats are scaling stats, which means the first dragon is kind of super weak, but the more dragons you gain, the more stats you'll get and the more powerful you'll become. Which means the third dragon is basically a win condition, but any other dragon before isn't a game changer or a game ender, it just makes the game a little bit more difficult. On the other hand, the gold on the Herald play can be dedicated to one certain player or 2 players, and then they can snowball the game. Amazing, isn't it? And now I want to present you the picks of this patch for the best SoloQ champions. Number 1 is Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix as a champion is classified as an assassin, but contrary to other assassins, he's a bit different. He's one of the only assassins that will almost always go for Duskblade of Draktar, which then allows him to spot wards and know if he's being seen. Consequently, it's not really possible to trap for him unless the Kha'Zix isn't actively paying attention. Gameplay-wise, you'll most of the time clear towards your level 5. You can do so by just clearing your jungle and not interacting at all. Scuttle Crabs are most of the time a risk you don't have to take because they grant virtually nothing in terms of XP. And all you need is level 5, because on level 5 your champion finally comes online and you can take good skirmishes. Technically speaking, the best way you can play the game is being more patient before you reset first. After your first reset, you'll 100% access to your first abilities evolve and items that grant you AD. And your champion lost to have AD. The more AD you get, the substantially more damage you deal because of the AD conversion of your first ability. Taking into account that you also evolve this, things get really crazy really fast. The next thing that makes Kha'Zix really broken is his versatility in the game. On one hand, he can trap for people, being the super assassin as he is with pure lethality items. On the other hand, he can be a bruiser monster with a lot of sustain during fights due to Omnivamp of Conqueror and all the other tanky items he can go for. Additionally to this, he also has the ability to evolve different things at different times. The most consistent evolve, however, will be the first ability into the second into the third, but if you're snowballing with the super high assassin build, going from your first ability into your third and then afterwards into your second can be optimal at times. Our next crazy SoloQ champion is Karma. She loves to stomp the enemy into the ground with her insane laning phase, her insane mid-game power and her crazy late-game teamfight potential. During the laning phase, she can use her empowered first ability to poke out the enemy and go for all-ins with her empowered second ability. Taking that into consideration, she can also guarantee setups with absolutely nothing else next to her. All she needs is a second ability and the enemy being close enough to each other to root them together and then allow her allies to run them down. She can be the engager, she can be the peeler, she can be basically anything you want at any point in time in the game because of her versatility. Adding to that versatility is her insane damage potential. Contrary to public belief, support items are not really that great in this game. You can go for pure AP and just burst the enemy into the next game and win fights from that. Going for support items on the other hand seems just too much of an investment for literally nothing. Luden's Echo, for example, outclasses basically every other mage item in the game in almost all circumstances on 99.9% of all the champions, because none other item is even close to competing with it in terms of power. Then think about your first ability's range and the poke plus the Luden's Echo passive, and then you realize that your champion pokes out the enemy before they can even start a fight. And once you have this item, you can go for the Meteor enchant and then you combine all your skills together. Don't forget, you can root them in place, pull them together and throw a Meteor on top of their heads. That sounds funny, doesn't it? It doesn't sound fun for the enemy, but for you it will be a blessing to see, because Karma is absolutely broken and still a first pick, ban or anything like that material, but people just don't like her because they can't play her. abuse her, and win with her. Now we come to the spot where usually you would put in the Katarina because she's a solo queue monster. But what about Yone? Yone is also a solo queue monster. He provides everything you need from a Yasuo player, but in an easier fashion, better fashion, stronger fashion, and much cooler fashion. Yone is easier to play, has better scaling, and overall a better impact on the game with less effort input into the champion. He needs less mechanical skill to actually be played well, and it just seems way stronger than anything else you can think of. During the laning phase, he has to be a little bit mindful of not overextending, but that's literally all there is to it. To sum this one up, for the laning phase you have to be a little bit more careful and play around your second ability's poke damage from high range and your third ability's safety that it provides you if you cast it from afar. If you manage to not die during the laning phase and go towards your first item, you're set to win the game. In objective fights, your champion becomes a monster. Provides insane CC on 2 different spells and a lot of burst damage that you wouldn't even imagine a Yasuo would do to people. But adding in damage plus crowd control makes this champion a force to be reckoned with. And he doesn't really need setup because he can be his own setup. And once he goes in and hits multiple people, the fight will be almost always just over. And here are a few tips to learn to reach that point without any issue. You can use your third ability from range to clear waves that are frozen. You can use your third stack of your first ability to go over walls and never be in danger, run away from danger, or go into a dangerous situation with your third ability and then snap out of it again. Just think about the combo things you can do with this champion and enjoy winning. The other champion we need to talk about is Samira. Similar to Katarina, Samira is a reset champion that loves to streak during teamfights, and all she has to achieve to do so is getting her S rank. But before we get into that, we need to talk about her laning phase. Her laning phase is best paired with any CC support that will allow her to use her passive ability. Next to that, it's about you using your first ability to poke and your second ability to block dangerous skill shots that could turn the tides inside of the laning phase. With that out of the way, you have to understand what you have to do in teamfights. Here it's very important that you're patient with yourself. If you go in instantaneously, you'll get cancelled, and even if you have your S rank, your ultimate will just be gone and you can't do too much and you'll die like any other AD carry. Similar to the Katarina, you want to wait and be patient for your moment to go in. And then it's about your combo. The faster you get to that S rank, the more likely you are to clean up the fight and then win the game. So when you use spells, be careful to not waste them in a manner that will keep you stuck inside a specific rank of your passive and then unable to clean up the fight. That's literally the most important thing about this champion. And last but not least, we have Morgana. Morgana in the jungle position is a champion that is really unfazed by most of the other enemy champions. Taking the current solo queue climate into account and this champion's ability to stall the game, stall fights and overall annoy people to their deaths, you quickly realize what this champion can do. But for Morgana there are a few things you need to know. In order to clear your jungle efficiently, you need to learn to double camp your blue buff, Gromp, Raptors and red buff. If you can't do this, you will not be able to pilot Morgana properly and you will fall behind for no reason. Morgana is one of those AP jungles that loves to full clear their jungle as fast as possible to gain leads from that one. Once you do this, you can look at other lanes and just help them push and reset afterwards. Then, once you get more items, your champion becomes increasingly stronger. One of the biggest changes recently that happened to Morgana as a champion is the removal of the interaction between Rylai's and Liandry's Torment. Now there's not really much reason to buy those items combined because your damage will be suffocated. There will be not much damage on your champion unless you get a big amount of AP, which then substitutes the new scaling on the Liandry's Torment. So that's why those two items don't match well together anymore unless you're just a utility bot. But then again, might as well buy Mandate on top of the Rylai's so you're being more of a utility bot for your teammates. Playstyle wise, you just put down your puddle into objectives, let the enemy walk into you and just deny them over and over and over again until they slowly die to your W ability. Oh, don't forget there's something very important about your second ability. In the early stages when the enemy is full life, it deals barely any damage, but the lower they are, the more damage it deals. So if you have anyone on your team that does poke damage or burst damage and is allowing your team to poke the enemy out, then your champion will become even stronger. And that's it for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and if you want more content, make sure to like, subscribe and join for more. See you soon.